Well, let's segue over to Sting then, because I feel like Sting is one of those characters that he's kind of underrated in the sense that people don't realize how much he means to professional wrestling. Like I remember when I posed the debate on TikTok about who's better, Sting or Taker, or or who you like more, was pretty much what I was trying to get at. But I think people turned it into like, oh, my guy's better than your guy. When I mentioned to someone that he's a 15-time world champ, people were like, what? When did he win all those titles? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's a 9-time WCW champion, and then he won the rest of his championships in TNA. Like, those are real championships, guy. Like, that's NWA, TNA. Like, that's what it is, I feel like people don't realize that, what he meant to the business, but I love how you bring up the thing about Vampiro, because we've watched him do it so much. Sting has zero problem putting someone over. Right. And it is so unique. He's been the one guy, like I don't know if it works for a guy like Undertaker. I don't know if Undertaker can go out there and lose match after match after match and still be the top guy. Right. I think he needed to be that guy that, like, he only lost his matches to like Stone Cold. He only lost to guys like, even when he loses to Kurt Angle, it's by schmoz, right? Like, he doesn't like lose clean to Kurt Angle. When he loses to The Rock, it's a triple threat match. Like, it's like, okay, like nobody really beats The Undertaker. It's rare. And when Yoko beats him, it's like the whole, like, Jim Cornette's whole stable has to come out to beat The Undertaker. It's not straight up, But for Sting, he would work guys like Bill Goldberg, and he would take the loss. He would get dominated. He'd work guys like Vampiro. He would lose, to Reese on WCW Nitro, things like that. Like, I always thought it was so good.
I just watched, just to get prep for the show and get in the right mindset, I watched Bret Hart versus Sting.
The Halloween Havoc match?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not like the fact that we never got peak, at least peak in my mind, because everybody thinks some magical thing happens if somebody goes from WWF to WCW. And all it really is, and you have to be a wrestling fan to get older, is the mismanagement of the fucking character and not knowing what you have. You have Bret Hart. He was on the side of like the little, what's it, the WrestleMania video game. Like, Bret Hart was like the leader of the next generation. It was almost like, okay, Hogan's stuff is basically, we made him up. He's bullshit. But this guy can really wrestle. And here's a bunch of wrestlers that can actually do the moves and tell the stories. You know what I mean? It's not like, what was that cartoon he had? Like Rock and Roll Wrestling. Hogan, that shit is over. Here's real wrestling. 60-minute Iron Man match. This is Bret Hart. And you get him, and WCW's like, I don't know what to do. So that burned me up. Like, him, heel, okay, if you're gonna have him heel versus Sting, I get it. But give me a trilogy. You know what I mean? Like, give me a story. They just kind of had it. They were like, these guys don't like that they have a similar finisher. And they did one. The match was okay. Like, I just was like, wow. As I reflect more, and here's another thing about being a wrestling fan: you could like something and critique it all the,
Absolutely.
It's hard, but as you get older, with anything in life, you know what I mean? You could love it and like it or whatever, and still be able to critique it. Sting should have not joined the fucking. As much as I dig the Wolfpack in theory, it was a vibe, it was a bop. You know what I mean? It's almost like, guys, this should have stayed like backstage. Out of character. Because him joining, the way they booked that, they lost all the time. Like, I remember talking to my best friend, like, when it was happening. It was like, yo, you look at this group on paper, like, they should be invincible, but like, they lose to like you said, like Horace and like bums. And like,
I agree with you there. I definitely feel that we're definitely gonna, after we're done with Sting, we're gonna talk about Bret, because I feel like I'm his only defender on the internet right now. Like, I feel like people hate Bret for just being, the Gran Torino Clint Eastwood character. Like, I feel like they're just like, oh, we hate that Bret Hart's grumpy. Like, that's kind of, I just feel like it's so weird.
They say, like, the person that speaks the truth doesn't have a lot of friends.
Agreed.
On shit that people don't want to fucking hear.
That's the thing. I agree with you. But yeah, I feel like, getting back to the Sting thing, and then we could jump right into Bret. I just feel like Sting was one of those he was one of those great people for the business. And you've heard it. Like, I don't know if you listen to podcasts, but the 83 Weeks podcast with Eric Bischoff, they have like 5 different Sting episodes where they account the whole year. So they have like 95 Sting, 96 Sting, 97, 98, and then the TNA Sting. And they're great episodes. I can send you the links on to them on TikTok so you can see them, so you can like listen to them and stuff. Whether you have Apple Music or you have, or you have Spotify, they're both on there. But yeah, or you could YouTube, you can watch them on YouTube because they have a YouTube account as well if you just want to watch it. But
cool.
When I hear Eric Bischoff talk about Sting, you can almost be like, yeah, this is the guy that like you could tell he knew this guy was more than just the wrestling business. He was important to what happened on screen, and there was a reason that he was picked to be the foe to the NWO. And I appreciated him so much. I am one of those people that prefer the Crow Sting to the Surfer Sting. Like the Surfer Sting was my childhood, but growing up, no, it's the Crow Sting, because you talk about being a big comic book fan. Like my dad used to sit me down and make me watch like Fist of Fury and like Enter the Dragon and things like that. And I just the Big Boss. And I just remember like growing up with Bruce Lee. So when I found out his son was a movie star, I remember I watched Rapid Fire with Brandon Lee thinking like, wow, this is great. Showdown in Little Tokyo. And then when he became the Crow, I was hooked. So I was already a fan of the Crow. Yeah.
I literally have a mask that I painted because you could tell when we go to a Halloween store, right, or whatever, you're like, this is the Crow. They just changed a few things around.
Yeah.
So I literally just let me get it's like hanging here. I literally just
I love it.
I just painted it myself.
Yeah.
Definitely obsessed with that, and it was almost like perfect for me because I was like, oh. And the Crow soundtrack was my gateway into like that type of music, like alternative, Stone Temple Pilots, all that. So it was a lot of different things in terms of pop culture that was happening as I was getting older. But when I found out that Sting was going to basically take on kind of like this, not the identity of the Crow, but was seriously influenced it, I was like, I love the Crow and I love Sting. This is perfect. But Sting kind of like made it his own. The build up was perfect. Like when he would like go in the ring and like I remember there was a scuffle between like NWO and like the Horsemen and like a bunch of people from WCW. He literally just like came out of the crowd, literally got in the ring and like just walked through. And Arn Anderson went to touch him and he was like, he just walked. He walked to the other side. I was like, this is the most ball shit I've ever seen. Because you don't know what he's going to do. Like, he would do the thing when he would turn his back and be like, if you're going to hit me, hit me. And I was like, this is brilliant.
I love that, where he gives the bat to Macho Man Randy Savage and he turns around. I thought that was so brilliant. A lot of people tend to think that Sting was just all character based. And I always tell them, I'm like, if you really think that, do me a favor and go back, because the entire promo is on YouTube. And I want to make people very aware. All wrestlers know where the hard cam is. They all know where they're supposed to look. And that's why this promo is so important to me. It's one of my favorite promos ever. After Sting gets accused by Luger and the Steiners of being like this mystery guy for the NWO, right? He goes out there and he cuts this promo, this free agent promo that you don't, and that's where we get the first phrase, like, the only thing that's for sure about Sting is nothing's for sure. And that's where if you watch the promo, his back is facing the camera. He refuses to look at the camera. And it is just, it's so impactful. And I'm like, listen, this guy can always talk. He's always had this. He just never needed to. His character was more than that, But yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that. But jumping over to Bret Hart,